All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of We Create Music TV. I am your host, Vaughan, and man, today, whenever you take a chance to watch this, if you're watching live, welcome. We have an amazing artist, producer, creator, multi-instrumentalist, believer, which is, of course, one of my favorites, y'all know that, and fusion pianist. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Desarae Dee. Welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for being here. It's great to have you. So greatly appreciate it. So let's get started. All right. So I had a chance to check out a whole bunch of things from your music on your Instagram, your YouTube. But for those that do not know you, can you just give us some insight into your background and how did you get started in this music?
Okay, so I got started at the tender age of 6 years old, and I come from a Jamaican household. So when your parents put you in something, you don't get to come out. So um, I, at that age, wasn't really interested in music. I was interested in playing with the boys, running around, and doing that kind of thing because I was a tomboy and I grew up with a lot of boys at that age. So I didn't really care about anything music. However, my dad, he is the musician in the house, so he sang. He was a part of a group called the Soul Searchers back in the 80s. They used to go to different churches and sing and at different events. And he played bass, he plays acoustic guitar, and he wanted one of his children to continue the musical bloodline. My brother obviously wasn't interested in that. He likes his video games. So they said, you know what? We think you have the ability and we think you have the capabilities of being a great musician. And so we're putting you in music lessons. I can remember my first music lesson. It was with one of the ladies at my church. She taught me for the first 2 years. Actually, she happened to be a teenager at the time when she was teaching me, but she was around 15. And it was a very interesting experience. She used to come to my house and teach me. And I had her for a couple of years, and she went off to university, and then my parents put me in a music school. And that's when everything went downhill. my first teacher was this guy. He was kind of nerdy. And I remember being in the lesson and he gave me a piece of sheet music and he said, here you go, play it. And I sat there for the entire lesson and didn't touch the piano once. I think it was maybe about 2 minutes before the end of the lesson is when I actually started playing. So he decides that he's going to go tell my parents how I didn't play the piano. Basically a little snitch, but it's okay. Yeah. My parents sent me to my bed early that night because I didn't play.
Yeah.
But they didn't like the guy, so the next week I had a different teacher. And it was this older lady, and she was really scary, and she made me cry once. Yeah, I had her for about maybe 4 months, and my parents were like, yeah, this is not working. So I got another teacher. And she was a little bit younger. I think she was in like university or something like that. She was complete kids. She didn't know what she was doing either. So my parents just started getting really frustrated, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I remember coming home from a lesson, and I was like, I want to quit. I don't want to do this. My mom's like, you're going to keep doing it. I don't care. I was like, okay, fine. And the following week, so I think this was about maybe 8 months in being at that music school. I finally got put with another teacher, happened to be a really nice Black lady. And because of all the frustrations that I went through, I cried my first lesson with her because I was fed up. All the teacher switching and, just no stability, no consistency across the board whatsoever. So super frustrating. And I remember that day she really encouraged me, and she said, you know what, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to make sure that you're successful with this. And one thing that really resonated with me with her was she took the time to ask me how I was, how life was outside of music. So you have those teachers who just only care about, okay, did you practice? Okay, did you do this song? Do this song? They don't care about your life outside of music. And because she asked me those questions, that changed my whole perspective on just, doing this music thing and learning the piano and all that. It was, wow, a teacher actually cared about what my life was like outside of music lessons. And so I ended up staying with her for about 12 years. So I went through the whole Royal Conservatory music system. I was in level 9 by the time I was 17 years old.
Wow.
But in between that time, I go to church. I grew up in the church, and I started playing in church when I was 13. And I learned, all the church songs, all the hymns, all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And I remember being at home. I was in high school at the time, and I wrote this song. And I was just coming up with all these like different chords and stuff, and I didn't know what I was playing. And of course, this high school that I went to, I did jazz, but they didn't really teach you and break down like the musicianship and the theory of it. So I didn't learn any of that stuff until I got to university. And I was able to learn like what the jazz chords were called, all the extensions, the sevens, the nines, 11s, 13s,
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff. And that song that I had written when I was 15, I finally understood what I was doing. Um, I also found out in university that I had perfect pitch and didn't know. So
Wow.
my entire life, I had perfect pitch and had no idea. It was
Wow.
when I was doing a exercise with my jazz instructor at the time, and she played a chord, and I was able to tell her all the notes of the chord. And she's like, "Do you have perfect pitch?" I said, "What's that?" So she explained it to me, and I was like, "Wow! So you mean I've been taking lessons for the past 12 years and didn't know that I had this?" So that was mind blowing to me. And with that, I was able to just, really be in tune with hearing different sounds, whether it was in like different songs that I heard, and then really using it to my advantage in terms of like learning how to reharmonize.
Mm.
Um, and it's funny because reharmonization was something that I didn't learn at university. I taught myself how to reharmonize.
Right.
And literally, I taught myself how to do it by listening to Robert Glasper, who happens to be one of my like
Robert Glasper
favorite
is the man though.
jazz musicians of all time. It was one of my friends in my third year of university who put me on to Robert Glasper. So
Wow.
I went back to all of his old stuff, listened to everything. And there was a couple of songs. There was one song on his, I forgot which project it was, but it was called You Oughta Praise Him. So I don't know if you're
Mm.
familiar with that song. So I spent the summer learning that entire song. So lifting it, playing it note for note, chords, all of that stuff. Had no idea what I was doing, but I figured it out. I think I was able to learn it in about a couple days, and I actually recorded myself playing it. I'm pretty sure I still have the recording somewhere on my computer, but I have to find it. Um, but yeah, I learned the entire song, and literally my mind was open to all of these different chord extensions and just like the
Mm.
way that he comes up with his music. And I was like, wow, this is so amazing. And it was from there where I said that if I ever decide to be an artist, I want to be different. I want to, not sound like everybody else out
Mm-hmm.
there. You have your church musicians, you have your jazz musicians, you have your classical musicians. I always said to myself that I wanted to stand out, I wanted to be unique. So I took from the time I was 18 until I was about 24. So yeah, that was a pretty long time. Just trying to discover who I was as a musician, who I wanted to be as a musician, who I wanted to be as an artist, what I wanted to bring to the table that was different from everybody else. And of course, I went through this whole music journey, and I have my influences: Alicia Keys, Oscar Peterson, Robert Glasper, and Chopin, because obviously I went through the classical route, and Chopin was one of those
Chopin
artists.
is,
Yeah, he
yeah,
was
you
one of
got that
those
right.
artists that really stood out to me, and I love chords, and I used to play all of his preludes when I was taking lessons. So prelude in E minor, prelude in B minor. So he would stack the chords. And I don't know, there was just something about the way that he stacked those chords that I fell in love with chords. And of course, Oscar Peterson. I have the ability to stretch a major 11th in my left hand. And yeah, I can. And it's funny because my hands are so small, right? So people are
Right.
just like,
It'd
how
be
are you
like,
doing this? How are you doing this? So I literally can stretch a
yeah,
major
that's
11th,
wow.
yeah, in my left hand. And it was the Gentle Waltz. That's the song that he wrote. There is an extension, a major 11th extension in the left hand in
Mm.
the second half of the song. And I spent the summer trying to get that note. I was like, I have to reach this. And it was two black keys. It was a G flat, and I think I had to reach like an A flat or a B flat or something, an octave higher. And I spent the summer learning to stretch. And I had to hop, skip a little bit, but after a while, I was able to actually reach it. And that's another aspect of my like playing that I've added in, my ability to stretch from like one note to the next note. And then of course Alicia Keys. I grew up on Alicia Keys. I mean, as you can see in my shirt, I'm a '90s baby. So I grew up on Alicia Keys. The kids in high
Mm-hmm.
school used to call me Alicia Keys because I used to have my hair braided all the time, and I would always be in the music room playing the piano.
Mm. See?
So yeah, so all those and just her like her melodies. That's something that stood out to me. So encompassing all of these, elements from all these different artists. So Robert Glasper in his unique, way, his like musical mind is just ridiculous. Oscar Peterson and his stretch, Alicia Keys and her melodies, Oscar Chopin and his fat chords. So I took that, I put it in a big stewing pot, and I was like, okay, and I threw my personality and just who I am as a person in that pot and brewed it up. And in 2014, I decided to come on the scene as an artist. And the first song that I ever wrote, I actually sang on.
Oh, look, see?
It's called "I'll Worship You." I wrote that song when I was in Teachers College in
Mm-hmm.
2013, and I always wanted to, write my own music, and I had written all the vocal arrangements for it. I had a little bit of help from one of my friends in Toronto, because I'm not really like a singer. I can sing, I can harmonize, but I'm just not a soloist. Don't ask me to do anything. I don't like singing. So I put that song together. I produced the entire song. I asked some
Mm-hmm.
local artists to help me like play on it and all that stuff. And after writing that song and putting it out, I realized that instrumental music is something that I wanted to do.
Okay.
And even listening back to that song that I wrote, just like the way that I put it together, I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do this instrumental thing. I don't know how it's gonna go, but I'm gonna do it because for me, like, there's so many singers out there. There's so many people who sing and rap and all that stuff. And I was like, well, I wonder what life would be like being a black female jazz instrumental artist. I've never heard of that. I've never seen it,
Mm.
um, especially in Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in my entire life, even just playing in the church scene, I've always played with a bunch of guys. I've never once seen a female musician playing in church, aside
Wow.
from um, the one female that I played with at my church. But every church that I went to, guys. And I was like, where are all the
Mm-hmm.
females at? Right? And there's a stigma where, they say, oh, females they only need to be behind the mic or they can't keep up with the guys and
Wait, wait,
all
wait,
this
wait.
stuff.
Who says that? Who's? Come on now.
Listen, listen, man. And for me, I wanted to break that stigma. So if I ended up having to be the only person doing it, I was gonna do it. I was gonna find a way to do it. And I started posting videos on Facebook in 2015 and posting them in different groups and be
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I'm Desarae Dee and I do this. And the amount of friend requests I got, my Instagram followers went up. People were just like, yo, are you Desarae Dee? Every time they see me at concerts and stuff, they're like, yo, I listen to your stuff. You're so amazing. Like you're a musical genius. Like your musical mind is like ridiculous. I've never seen it before. All of this stuff. And me, like I'm a humble person. Like I don't really care for fame and all that stuff. Yeah, you see me, it's like, hey, what's up? Like, cool. Like, you're awesome. Thanks for saying that, and thanks for talking to me. But I didn't really care about that. I think for me, it was more like I wanted to inspire all the females out there who do play an instrument and don't have as much balls as I do to, go out there, put themselves out there as an artist and as a
Mm-hmm.
musician. Um, and I just wanted to, show them that it can be done. I went through a lot of struggles. I went
Mm.
through a lot of backlash. I went through,
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
guys being jerks and trying to tell me how I didn't know what I was talking about. But I've
Mm.
been playing longer than some of them have been born.
Mm.
Okay.
Well, so I'm gonna ask, why do you think that is? Why do you think you got that backlash like that?
Honestly, maybe because I was brave enough to do it. Um, I don't think I didn't think I had anything to prove. I just felt like, you know what, if I can do this, I'm just gonna do it. And maybe there was some intimidation there because I felt like a few males were intimidated by me. I don't know why that is. I mean, we both play the piano. I do it. I mean, I don't know why you need to be intimidated by me. I'm just little old Desarae Dee, just trying to make a difference in the world. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to compete with anybody. Like I'm not here trying to steal your position or anything like that. But I'm just trying to inspire, other female musicians who look like me.
Right. Right. I mean, you'll be surprised how many guys are just really insecure about themselves to allow a strong black woman to fill in that role because they're like, well, wait a minute, you're going to take this position from me or whatever they may be thinking, right? Because I mean, I don't think that way, but so I don't really know what they may be thinking, but I guess just from the outside looking in, it's a lot of insecurity that guys have when it comes to women who step into some of these platforms and start to outshine some of them. I guess is that the thing when you have a husband and a wife, and what if the wife makes more than the husband?
Mm,
I'm cool with that. Like I hope, shoot, go ahead and make more than me because I know I'm gonna make a lot. So I know if you're making a lot, make more than me. I know you're making a lot. So and it's good.
yeah. But I mean, even that is a partnership, right? Like
It's a
you
partnership. That's
have the
right.
same goal at the end of the day, regardless of who's making more money than the other
That's right.
person. So it's kind of like I kind of see it in that way where it's like, you know what, we're all trying to win in life. We're all trying to get to the same spot. Why not
Mm-hmm.
help each other get there? It shouldn't be a competition. Like
Right.
the end goal is to inspire everybody, inspire the world, inspire people who look like us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to get to this place in life, but they may need, that push or they may need that inspiration or somebody to encourage them to do this because I, I mean, aside from my parents, like I just made the decision on my own to do it. I didn't care who encouraged me or not. I was going to do it. And that's the thing about me. I'm a very determined and ambitious person. So I don't really need anybody to motivate me or push me to do something. If I see that there's a lack of something, I'm just going to go out of my way and make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's a mindset that you got to have in order to be able to say I don't really need to rely on anybody else. I'm just going to go out and make it happen myself. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean that's an interesting backstory. Like and I'm sure there's way more to it, but
Yeah.
I mean just from what you've shared so far, that is a very interesting backstory. And so you've been doing it since you were, since you were youngin, back in the day, since you're a '90s baby. And
Yeah.
so, hey, look, '90s music is like the best era of music. So to be a '90s baby in the best era of music is you just got double bang for the buck right there. You're born in the best era of music, and you do music. And from what I hear, oh my gosh, yeah, oh man, and we'll get into that in just a little bit, right? Because the stuff that I ain't even gonna tell you yet. And so you see her Instagram right there. Just go to Desarae Dee Music on Instagram, and just click on some of them uh, Instagram posts. Oh man! But anyway, back to the story. Back to the story at hand. So you started young. You went through a couple of teachers, and then I think what I find amazing is that you had perfect pitch
I think
because
that's like the
I
best
don't
part
got
of
that.
the
I'm
story for everybody.
I ain't got perfect pitch. Trust me. That never happens. I don't got that. But I mean, I think that's amazing though that even through your process of learning music, you had this already within you that it was just, I guess, another sign that you were just destined for greatness because you already had that ability to do that. When it's a rarity to have that ability.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
even my name, my government name, I'm going to be brave and say my government name today. My last name is actually Facey, and
Mm.
my last name is actually the spaces of the treble clef for
Oh,
those who
yes,
read
right.
music.
FAC. Yes, it is. See, come
Yeah.
on now. Come on now. You can't be better designed than that.
Listen, I didn't even take that in until like my 20s, I think, when I got into teaching and I was teaching with the school boards out here. And I don't know, it just came to me one day and I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that my last name literally spells the spaces of the treble clef. Like, how could I not be destined to do music?
That's right. I mean, that's
Yeah.
if that's not clearly spelled out for you, then I don't know what.
And it's funny because
Yes.
my dad was adopted.
Mm.
So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's the thing. Things work
So,
together good, right?
hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's even though you may not know the in that situation from a historical perspective, it put you on a path that has placed you where you are today. So that's
absolutely.
completely awesome.
Hmm.
Completely awesome. Okay, so growing up in Toronto, right? So
Yeah.
how talk about how that climate, that culture influences what you do today as a music creator, as a pianist. So how does that
Um,
culture influences it?
yeah. Well, I mean, I was born in the city. I was born at Toronto General Hospital. I spent 2 years in Toronto. I actually live in the suburbs with my family, but I'm always in Toronto. I work in Toronto. My job is there. My gigs are there. Everything I do is there. I'm barely home just to, eat and sleep and repeat, right? Um, Honestly, the musical climate here is very interesting. There's a lot of creatives here. I think the major issue that I find is a lack of support, and that's just across the board um, for
Mm-hmm.
anything. And I think it's like mainly for independent artists because I mean it's difficult being an independent artist. I mean it's not easy. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
do everything out of pocket. You gotta make moves. You gotta make connections.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first 2 years I was an artist. I was doing everything. I was the manager. I was the booking, agent. I was, and then still trying to create music at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
Which I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm great at organizing myself and stuff, but it's a lot of work, trying to be, trying to give people your best music while at the same time trying to be the booking agent, the manager, trying to book your own shows, trying to collaborate with other people, trying to upkeep social media, marketing yourself, all of that stuff. And I was grateful to have my best friend um, who decided that she wanted to do the music thing and she wanted to start her own management company, um, and she really wanted to do this music thing full force because she also sings and she's a dope singer. She
Mm.
decided to manage me, so I did like a interim thing with her with
Okay.
my first couple of projects that I released in 2016. I did 2 release parties. I released 2 projects in 6 months.
Wow.
So me and Cardi
That's
B
some
have that
work.
in common.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so I
that's
did
work.
my first project called 20, which was a celebratory EP of 20 years of music. So at that point, I
Mm.
had celebrated 20 years of music. And the song that I wrote when I was 15 is actually on that song and was
Oh
actually one of
wow.
the most requested songs on that EP,
Wow.
which is interesting. It's called Back into Space. And I remember sharing the song with one of my students, and she's like, I feel like I'm in outer space. And I was like, yeah, well, that's why the
Well,
song's called
yes.
Back into Space. Yeah, so she managed me, took me under her wings, and it took a lot of the load off of my shoulders.
Mm.
Um, I mean, we both know a lot of people in the city. I mean, I know a lot of musicians. I know a lot of artists. She knows a
Look,
lot
look,
of people who are, you know,
look. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm gonna ask the question.
yeah,
Do you know
yeah.
Drake?
Mm. Listen, my god brother plays drums for him actually.
Ah, because
Yeah,
I'm sure everybody asks that question when they meet somebody from Toronto. You know Drake?
it's funny. It's funny. I've never met him personally, but I mean, his drummer is my god brother. I teach his sister keys, so I mean, she tells me all the time all the stories about him and all this stuff. So yeah, I don't know him like that, but it's okay.
No, I'm just saying. It's like the usual question most people ask when you're from a place where there's somebody that's super famous, like the most famous person. Do you know this person? I'm like, no, I don't. But okay.
I know people that do know him. If
See,
that
and
counts.
that's what I said. I know people who know that person, but I don't know that person. But
Yeah.
technically, I kind of know that person because I know somebody that know him. So just no, I'm just joking.
Funny, funny, funny. Yeah. So I mean, I was grateful to have my best friend manage me. So she
That's
took all the
awesome.
load off of me, so I could really focus on the music. I wrote some of my best music in 2018, 2019, actually not 2018, 2017, 2019. I didn't release any music in 2018. I went through a rough year in 2018, so I didn't do anything. But I wrote a lot of my best music when I did not have to worry about doing all of the backside work.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask you, well, what was some of the circumstances around that allowed you to really put out the best music during those years?
Yeah, so I mean, even that, I went through a lot. It's difficult. I remember
Mm-hmm.
being in my studio in 2018, literally questioning whether I wanted to keep doing this or not. Um, and it was, multiple things like, the support wasn't there. I went through writer's block for the entire year of 2018. Well, not the
Wow.
entire year, but the first 9 months, I went through writer's block. I went through a lot of personal issues um, within myself. And of course, at that point in time, I was almost 30 years old. So it was like
Mm.
setting in. Oh my gosh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting old. But I went through periods where I was like, dude, I don't even know if I want to keep doing this because,
Wow.
I was struggling and the music wasn't coming to me as naturally as it was when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I questioned, did I enter the music industry too late?
Mm.
Did I enter it at too early? Because I started when I was 24.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I went through all those questions, questioning myself. And I remember being on my computer in 2018 over the summer. And I was using GarageBand at the time. And I had just been producing keys. And I went through this thing where I didn't want to have to keep relying on people to get music out. And when I say that, I mean like um, producing for like different instruments and stuff like that. Like needing bass or needing a drummer or needing a guitar player or needing this instrument. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do all those things myself. And then it hit me, and I was like, wait a second, Desiree, you play bass. What are you talking about? At
Mm.
church, I play key bass all the time. My dad plays
Mm-hmm.
bass. Why are you not doing this yourself? Right? I am a multi instrumentalist, so I play saxophone. I play all of the band
Wow.
instruments. What am I doing? Right? And once
Wow.
that finally clicked, I was like, wait a second, I don't need to rely on anybody to do anything. So I went into GarageBand, had my MacBook for 5 years, didn't realize that there were drum loops in GarageBand.
Mm-hmm. A
Found
whole lot
out,
of them.
and my mind just exploded. I was like, yo, this is it. This is where I explore, this is where I experiment, this is where I create. So I started experimenting in 2018 over the summer, trying to get my mojo back, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I just started like creating all these different things, learning sound design, how to, incorporate different drum loops, mixing drum loops, So I would go in like the hip hop section, and then I would go into the electronic section, and I would choose a couple of drums and then kind of edit them to the way that I liked, and then combining them together to create this fusion. So um, the term fusion, like for me, didn't come until 2018
Mm,
because I started as a jazz and gospel instrumental artist. So
okay.
a lot of my stuff was that. It wasn't until 2018 where the fusion part of it came into play. So
Mm,
that was me like experimenting with, electronic sounds, chill wave, trap hop, all these different genres they have these days. I can't even
mm-hmm.
keep up anymore.
They sure
Um,
do.
yeah, and taking like my jazz chords and my gospel nuances and putting them on top of like hip hop beats and
Mm-hmm.
electronic beats, and just experimenting with that. And I created a lot of different vibes. And some of the music that I released recently was from 2 years ago, from that time when I was exploring in GarageBand. One song in particular, In Rotation, that I released this year in May, was the first song that I wrote in GarageBand. A lot of people don't know that,
Yeah.
but that was the first song that I experimented with in GarageBand and created and extended it and all of
Mm.
that. First song I created, I took 2 years to put it out.
Oh,
And it just
hey.
so happens that life happened like that. Because I had other stuff that I was working on.
Mm-hmm.
One song, Levels, that I came out with in July. I wrote that at a time in my life where, again, I had those moments where, things were rough. Um, I went through a lot in my 20s, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. I experienced a lot of downs in the second half of my 20s. And I was sitting in my studio one day, and I don't know what came over me, but that song came to life. And it was a very simple melody, and I just built around it. And I remember listening back to it, and I was in tears because I was like, first of all, I don't even know where this came from, but
Mm-hmm.
there must have been something within me that day that was just like, okay, let it all out, Desiree, let it all out.
Yes, yes,
And
because some of the best songs come from some of the darkest places in our lives, and
mhm,
and people can relate to those things that you probably yourself are going through, and that they may be experiencing right along with you, and it just kind of culminates into and just an amazing song. When I kind of think about pain and struggle and music, the very first thing that pops into my head is Mary J. Blige's My Life album, because
mm,
she was going through some stuff on that album, and she was pouring it all out. And to this day, My Life is still Mary J. Blige's best album that she's ever put out because of the pain
mhm.
and the heartache and the struggle she was going through.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's a totally different thing to display that without lyrics, right?
Yes.
People are always like, "How do you do this without any lyrics or anything like that?" And I've always been a believer in just the music alone
Mm-hmm.
having the ability to touch people's lives. Yeah, I mean, people can resort to writing lyrics, but for me, I leave it all on the music.
Right.
So whether that's, the melodies that I create, whether I want to make it happy, make it sad, throwing in some major, minor chords, diminished sevenths, augmented sevenths, all of that stuff plays a
Mm-hmm.
part in the emotions that I bring to instrumental music. So I've always believed that music in that capacity can touch lives just the same way music
That's
with
right.
lyrics can.
That's right. Because music is universal, whether it has lyrics, whether it is just a single, one single instrument. The feeling that music brings to a person's soul is, it can be healing, it can be regenerative, it can just be one that just touches a person. And what I find interesting about music is that a person can hear a particular sound, a note, a song with a lyric, and they can remember maybe where they were, maybe a situation that they were involved in. But music is definitely a universal thing that people gravitate to. Which is, I guess,
Absolutely.
why people always gravitated toward like Chopin and Bach and Beethoven and I mean
Mm-hmm.
they had no words to theirs, but the music that they put out, the chords, the note structure was just out of this world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and even just, where I live in Toronto, I mean, Toronto is so multicultural. Uh, I get influence from everywhere. And all the different environments that I've gone into, whether that's been on my gigs, or even just, going to work. A lot of my music that I've written has been at work, and I happen to work in Toronto. So I work at a music studio in Toronto. It's called Marsden Music Center. It's in Scarborough, which is like a little small part of Toronto. Um, all of the music that I've written to date has been at work.
Wow.
And I don't know what it is about that school, but I just feel ideas coming alive every time I'm there.
Hmm.
And it could just be a mix of, I get to teach music for the rest of my life. I love it. Just the atmosphere there, the energy is always positive. Um, and I have my room there. And perfect example, like this past week, I was at work and I literally just came up with this melody out of nowhere. And I was just sitting there trying to, get some food down before my student came in. But for some reason, I'm always coming up with ideas. And that environment alone has just provided me the opportunity to just come up with different melodies. And then I make sure I take out my iPhone and I record them so that when I come home, I can put it
That's right.
into Logic Pro, and kind of produce something around it. And
I see. You see, she stepped up, right? She was on,
yes,
you know,
I did. I did step
she was on
up. I stepped
GarageBand.
up in
Now she on Logic
2019.
Pro.
You know
Yeah.
what? I have a friend who's out in Atlanta, and he told me, Desiree, you need to go to Logic Pro. And I was like,
Yep.
I don't know how to use it. He's like, I'm going to show you. So he showed me a couple of things, and I transitioned from GarageBand to Logic Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been using Logic Pro since 2019. And yeah, saved my life. Saved my
Yeah.
whole entire
Hey, Logic
life.
Pro will save your life. Yes, it will.
Yeah, so everything from 2019 up until now, present day, I've written out of Logic Pro. So
Shout out to
all those
Apple.
last few songs, listen, man, listen. So songs like In Rotation, Levels,
Mm,
The Original, my most
mm-hmm.
recent release, Refocus with Sean C. Johnson, who's from Oklahoma City. All of those songs straight out of Logic Pro. So hats off to Apple and to the creators of Logic Pro for doing such great things with that product because it has given me the ability to produce some of my best work. Um, Especially since now we are in a pandemic and we've been in a pandemic for the last 7 months now.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a series that I was doing on social media, and I say was because I'm on a hiatus right now, called Daily Vibes. I started that series in January of this year, and
Wow.
my goal was to write 100 songs by the end of the year. So I basically used that series to, just share my producing ideas with people.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, I was doing 3 songs a week. Yeah, it was
Wow.
going crazy. So by the time the pandemic hit, I had almost 50 songs. So I was halfway done in 3 months.
That's some work. That's work, people. Right there.
But I mean, I'm a
When you
workaholic. People
focus.
who know me, I'm a workaholic. I'm a grindaholic. This is what I do, and I love it. And I was just in my element. And then, the pandemic hit, but it forced me to restructure and rethink the way that I
Mm-hmm.
create my music.
Mm-hmm.
I literally was like, okay, I have a space to breathe. I need to give myself that time to breathe because I wasn't doing it. And it's definitely necessary, especially as a creative. We tend sometimes to just go on and on and on and on and on and not give ourselves that moment to breathe and to create space in our brains, and allow our brains to relax so that we can have that time and that moment of reflection to come up with new ideas. Because sometimes when you go so hard for such a long time, the creative ideas tend to fade because we're
Mm-hmm.
not giving ourselves that moment of space to breathe. So
Right.
this pandemic forced me to do that, especially since I was going so hard with, getting content out. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of doing 3 songs a week, I did 2 songs a week. I did that for about 4 months, and then it went to 1 song a week. And then October hit, and I went, like last month, I had a rough month, and I felt like my creative juices leaving me.
Mm.
And I went through a couple weeks of a drought. But I think that was because I needed to slow down. I needed to
Right.
have that time. And just with everything that I was going through that month, I needed to just not do any music for a bit, just
Right.
relax for a few minutes.
Right.
But now, like, I've had that moment to, breathe and rethink the way that I do things. And now the ideas are starting to come back, and especially now that it's Christmas time,
Mm-hmm.
currently working on a little small EP that I'm trying to release next month. So
Okay.
now I'm all excited now because, music is coming again,
Hey.
and, the creative juices are flowing because you know what? I will encourage every single artist out there to take those moments to breathe, take those moments to relax, take those moments to just not create. Give yourself space to, be human for a couple minutes. We're always constantly going and going and going because, we're all so focused on trying to get content out, trying to give our listeners, the next best thing. But you can never give your listeners the best if you don't, give yourself the best as a person, as an individual, giving yourself that moment to breathe and that moment to just be human for a couple of minutes. And that's definitely something that I've learned during this pandemic is that yes, I'm a human, and yes, my health matters, my life matters, especially even now where we have to be so on guard with COVID-19 and just protecting ourselves. Like, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
lose or put myself in the hospital unnecessarily, because I'm not protecting myself or I'm not taking my health
Right.
seriously. So
Right.
I want to still be able to do this in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And with a skill set like being a pianist, that can last you a lifetime. They say most artists have shelf lives, right? So
mhm.
once you hit a certain age, then that's it for you. But for someone who's a multi-instrumentalist, you can go on for well, until you whatever you know what that is. But I
Yeah.
don't want to say all that. But I mean, it can last you until you're 80, 90, 100 years old. As an artist, I mean, you're not going to be a 100-year-old rapper or a 100-year-old singer, maybe. But I
You'd
know
be
I'm not.
surprised.
But as a pianist, as a multi instrumentalist, your world is wide open, and your longevity and legacy is wide open. Yep.
Absolutely. And I
So I
want
got
to
to
be
talk.
alive to a time.
That's right. So I got to talk about something.
Okay.
I got to talk about this.
Okay.
So because this is one of my homies right here, right? And y'all know this is one of my homies because he was on here last week, right?
Yeah.
Matt B. Matt B.
Yes. My
Right?
bro. My
Right?
bro.
So how did you end up being the musical director for Matt B? Let's talk about that because
Everybody wants
because
to
he's gonna watch
know.
this. Yeah, he gonna watch
Okay.
this and be like, "Yep."
So, funny story. I was on Instagram one day. Well, I wasn't really on it, but I got some like notifications coming in. I think I got about like maybe 7 or 8 from this account called Matt B World. And I was like, why is this guy liking all my stuff? I'm so confused because you have those people who follow you on Instagram and they just like all of your stuff.
like
And
like like
like
like like
I
like.
love anything. I love the support, but sometimes it's just a little bit too much.
Mm.
Like I get you love the stuff, but damn, do you have to go through every post and like it?
Every post like this one, like this one.
But he didn't do that. I think he liked like maybe about 4 or 5 posts. And then I got an inbox message from him and he's like, hey, I'm doing a So Far Sound show in Toronto. And I checked out some of your stuff and you're so amazing, you're dope. I want to know if you'd be able to play for me. And I was like, for sure. I mean, I've always wanted to play for Soulful Sounds. I've been applying to them as an artist for months and hadn't heard
Mm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, absolutely, no problem. He sent me his music, I vibed to it. I was like, okay, I can rock with this. We did not have a rehearsal whatsoever. So I just learned the music and then he showed up in Toronto. It just so happens that I was able to meet I guess, the manager for So Far Sounds in Toronto, and we
Mm-hmm.
connected. And that's how I got future shows after that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when he came, we met in person, the vibes were just great, I guess, because we're both born in September. So
Yeah.
the
It's,
vibes
it's,
were just
something
there.
about it's something about them September babies. I'm telling
I
you.
keep telling people, man,
I
September is the
don't
best
know.
month of the year.
It's the
Keep
best month.
telling the best musicians, artists come from September. Keep telling them
You know,
people.
Beyonce's Virgo, so you know what I'm saying? Like so
Listen, listen,
come
man.
on now. Come on now. But yeah, when I
But
read that, I was like, oh yes, I definitely have to ask about how that whole Matt B. I had him on the show. I had him on here last week,
yes,
and
I
we just
watched
kind of
that episode.
awesome. Yeah, we just
Yeah.
chopped it up about a lot of different stuff, and then we kind of had like a second interview afterwards
Hmm.
because then I called him, and then we FaceTime, and then we talked about a whole lot of stuff for like another 30, 40 minutes after that.
Oh, wow.
After that, but yeah, that's my guy though. But you know, I do find that interesting, and I'm sure that was an experience for you for dealing with an artist and then not having to do a rehearsal and then having to actually play live with that particular artist with no rehearsal at all. So I can just imagine some of the thoughts and some of the uh, situations you may have been thinking about as you were preparing for that and then doing it live with him during that time.
Yeah, well, I mean, even
Yeah.
with him and Sean C. Johnson as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
I was the MD for him when he did his summer tour in Toronto in 2019. And I mean, we had one rehearsal. But the thing is with him was I kind of already knew his stuff because I've been following him for years. Um, and when I had met him in 2017, I have this thing where if I have an artist that I really like, I'll just kind of just learn their stuff and just kind of vibe up to their stuff. And I posted a couple of videos of me playing some of his stuff, and that just led to us building a relationship as musicians. And when it came time for his tour, he was like, "Can you be my MD?" I said, "Absolutely." He's like, "Well, I trust you with my songs."
Mm. See?
The fact that he
Wow.
said that, "I trust you with my songs," so I guess I was doing something right, and of course just building that
Definitely.
relationship with him too, because we had seen each other that one time, and then I saw him again in 2019 when he came. So when he came, he was so comfortable because he was with me and he trusts me with his stuff. And it
Mm-hmm.
just so happened that we put together a female band because I'm all about you know working with females and bringing females together who are instrumentalists. And there's some powerhouse female musicians in Toronto. Sarah Thawer, she is like an international drummer. Like everybody knows who she is. She's been all over the world. And then I have another friend of mine. Her name is Mika McLean. She's a dirty bass player. She tries to be low key, but she can slap a bass. She can slap a bass. So it was the three of us, and we had one rehearsal, and he had I
Mm.
think it was 8 or 9 songs that we just kind of went through. When we went to the show, we were trying to do the backing tracks, and for some reason it just wasn't working. So we just did it, just rogue, acoustic,
Mm.
everything, and it worked out.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
awesome. You know, I've been sitting here wanting to ask you because I'm looking at it. Is that thing on? Is it on? Is that piano on? Is that
Um,
is that connected?
Possibly.
You know, is that available to trust me, y'all. Y'all have not heard. Oh my gosh. I kid you not. When I first heard her music, I was like, oh wow. And y'all know I produce music, but y'all know I can't play no none of that. No, I got big hands, and me trying to play keys, nah, nah. I'd rather push pads, right? So, can you give them a taste? Would you mind? do we have the ability to do that, to give them some flavor of what you bring to the table?
Yeah. All right,
Oh
let me see
man,
if
look.
I can get this thing. You can hear it, right?
Yeah, oh, she gonna give y'all some stuff. Oh, y'all, she gonna give y'all some stuff. Here we go. Oh, look at that. See, she was getting fancy with it too. I saw that. Yes. Thank you for that. And if y'all don't know, like I'm saying, check out her videos on her social media on YouTube. Super, super talented. I kid you not, super talented. Thank you for showcasing your musical abilities, because
No
man, I'm
problem.
telling
That
you.
was my song, The Original. So if you actually want to listen to it, you can get it on all streaming and music platforms.
That's awesome. Okay, so let me ask, so how can people, if they want to work with you on,
Hmm.
how can people, if they want to work with you on music, you know, because certain people can't play piano pieces, but they can do everything else. They just can't play, the actual instrument.
I love how
But
you're pointing at yourself because I was already going to be like, we definitely have to work together. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm just feeling the vibes tonight with
hey,
you. So
hey,
absolutely.
hey, I do a lot of R&B. Look, I'm about to talk big myself up. Look, I do a lot of R&B stuff, but when it comes to like the real intricate, it's like what you were playing, yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's not me. But I know exactly how I want music to sound. I know what sounds I want
Hmm.
in it, and I know if it's maybe a piano with a nice lead that's in there, or a
Right.
nice, dark bass or a dark pad and some nice drums
Hmm.
and some top, like all that stuff I know. But I can't. Yeah, nah. I tried. I tried to go to piano lessons, and failed. I tried to learn on my own, and failed.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I figured there's other people out there that are better at playing instruments than I than I am. So yes,
Well, I mean, for you, you have my contact information,
I
so
do. I
you can
do.
definitely hit me up
Y'all don't
anytime.
have it. I
Anybody
do.
else
No.
that wants to, if anybody else wants to work with me, you can go on my Instagram page and just hit the email button, and you'll be directed to management. But if you want to just deal with me, you can just send me a quick DM, and we can chat it up in my DMs, and we'll go from there. Literally. So.
That's right. All right.
I love
But
talking to people, so I mean, if people want to come and talk to me, as long as you come correctly.
as long as you come, see, and that's the thing. As long as you come correctly, keep in mind she does have a manager, right? And
I
and there's
do.
a process, from one
Yeah.
ex-manager, right? Because there's a process of how that whole thing
Hmm.
works.
Yeah.
Still be respectful of the manager. Don't bypass the
Yeah.
manager and be like, all right, whatever. No,
Don't do
oh
that.
no,
Please
don't do
don't.
that. But
Because
that's
my
you
manager
gotta,
gets really upset about that
yeah,
kind
you
of
gotta come
thing.
correct.
Like,
You should,
yeah. I mean, it's
you
different because
sure do.
I do so much stuff on social media because I also have
Mm-hmm.
like my cover series that I do, and at one point I was doing collabs on there. So I mean, in that sense, it's different. Like you can just reach directly to me because she doesn't really deal with like my social media stuff. I do that all myself. So even
Okay.
with like my Cover Tuesday series or my After Sessions collab series, like people can just
Mm-hmm.
reach out directly to me because I coordinate all of that stuff.
Okay. I see.
But
Y'all hear
anything
that?
like you want to produce, you want to make money off this stuff, okay, you got to hit up management.
That's right. Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
want to make money off? Oh yeah, because you see she got the skills. I'm like, she got to get paid for that stuff. We ain't playing around here. But yes, yes. So Wow, this has been an amazing interview. I've learned so much, and it's just been a joy to have you on and part of this just this time. So I hope the people who are watching enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot out of what she was saying. You got a chance to listen to what she brings to the table, and overall, she's just an amazing person.
Oh,
So, let me ask you, what advice? And you gave some great advice. Is there anything else you want to add to what you would tell people about getting into this whole music industry thing?
absolutely. I know when I first got into it, I didn't really have much support. I didn't have like a team behind me, and some people are fortunate to have a team behind them when they do enter the industry. So one of the pieces of advice I would give is to find somebody that you know who's in the industry that can kind of give you some guidance as to what you should do, what route to go, and if you have a team, you can start building a team. So if you know somebody who, musicians, you can have like a little band. If you know somebody who's good with social media marketing, that can kind of help you out with that. If you know somebody who is good with management, um, definitely I'd have a team because that's definitely important. The second thing I would advise people is to be consistent. Consistency is key in this industry. That's something that I had to learn very quickly, especially when it comes to social media. I Once I found my niche as an artist, I displayed that niche on social media. When I
Mm,
started getting hits and posting different things like covers, because that's what I started as, just posting covers, my interpretation of covers. I got a lot of traction on that. And then I said, okay, well, I need to find a way to keep these followers. So I came up with, my different musical series. So I had Cover Tuesdays. So I would post a cover every single Tuesday for the entire year. I've been doing that for the past 4 years. And I've had a lot of traction on that to the point where I've met other people across the world and I've been able to collaborate with people in England and Germany and Russia and all these different places. Um, you got to keep the followers coming back for more. So having something that you can do that's consistent on a consistent basis, so they see that you're actually serious and you're posting stuff and you want people to come back to your page. Obviously, I started off with one thing. Now I have multiple things to the point where I'm posting 4 or 5 times a week. Another thing was doing my research in terms of what times to post, what to post, when to post, um, and just following accounts that are similar to my brand. I mean, I'm an artist, I'm a musician, so I would find like other people who had more followers than I do, who kind of did the same thing as me or even similar, to kind of draw their followers as well to onto my page. That's what I'm doing. So consistency, finding something that you're good at, and then being consistent and finding creative ways to share that on social media so that people can see you. And because I was doing that, I had people like Mike Burrell hit me up, and they're following me, and to the point where I have his phone number. So if I want to talk
mm,
to him, I talk to him. And that was just solely off of a video that I posted, and he liked it. And somebody commented and said, Mike Burrell liked this, and I didn't even know who he was. So I looked him
mm,
up and
mm-hmm,
researched him, and he's done everything for everybody. And I was like, whoa.
mm-hmm,
So, and even like Doobie Powell, I have his contact information. We're actually supposed to collab on something hopefully soon. I've met all these different industry people because of my consistency. So consistency can get you very far as long as you keep doing it. You have something that you're good at, just keep posting. And even if you get one like, still keep posting. If you get one comment, still keep posting because people will see it. And you just have to learn the ins and outs of hashtags and timing and content. If you go onto my Instagram page, I have posts from back in 2017, and you can see my growth from 2017 until present day, even with the video quality and the sound quality that I have delivered on social media. So making investments in your brand. I've had to make a lot of investments over the last 5, 6 years that I've been doing this. And it's only, made my brand stronger. It's only made me a better musician, a better content creator. So that's the advice that I would give anybody out there.
Yeah, look, ladies and gentlemen, that is awesome advice. There's gems. I'm telling you, consistency is the key. Desarae, thank you for those gems that you just gave to people. So shameless plug. So I have a branding for music creator series on my website, right? Where we talk about how to identify your niche. Why we talk about consistency is the key. We talk about how to do a whole bunch of different stuff, from your EPK to a lot of different things, to social media, to a whole bunch of stuff. So if you haven't seen our branding for music creators on our website at wecreatemusic.tv, you're missing out, because she just gave you all the nuggets, or some of them, from that series.
Yeah.
So yeah, y'all, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Y'all missing out on that. I need y'all to go watch it, because that's how we get those views up. That's how we get those views up. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Of course.
That's how we get those views up, right? Wow. So Desarae, it's been a great pleasure. Tell people where they can find you. Tell them where they can find your music.
All right, so you can find me on social media. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, SoundCloud. There's so many different social media outlets, but at Desarae Dee Music. So it's actually on that main page there. It's the same handle for all the social medias. You can find me on YouTube at Desarae Dee Music, or you can just type in Desarae Dee on YouTube. All of my music is available on all of music outlets. You can check out my recent single, Refocus, featuring Sean C. Johnson, which is available on all streaming platforms. And stay tuned for some new music coming very soon for the holidays, some original Christmas music. I'm super excited to be putting out some original Christmas music. I mean, I have Christmas projects that I've done, but they're covers. And I've always wanted to release my own original Christmas stuff. So I'm going to be releasing a 3-song mini EP in December. So stay tuned for that.
Yes, I want to hear that. I want to hear it. I got to have that.
It's dope.
So soon as it come out.
I can't wait.
Yes, I got to have that. Sure do. So once again, wow, it has been just an awesome time, an awesome conversation. Once again, shout out to the people who are watching. We had a couple of people who actually tuned in, No Lid Creations, the Healer Sound, and we probably had a couple other people who joined in that probably didn't comment, but I do know they commented. So thank you for tuning in and watching this interview with Desarae Dee today. And Desarae, is there any last thing you want to say before we close out?
Well, I just want to say thank you to you for having me.
No, thank you. No, thank you very much for being here.
I had a blast.
Good.
And I'm looking forward to working with you on some music.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna sing some music right after we're done.
Absolutely, I'm ready.
Oh, trust, yeah, I don't play. I'm gonna sing you these two songs that I made that is gonna go on this re-release of this R&B album that I created. But I am looking to do more with, because I don't know how to play piano. So, I mean, I'm not afraid to play it.
Hey, some of the best producers don't know how to play keys.
I don't know how to play piano, but trust me, with them pads, I don't know how I want things to sound. They come out. You'll hear when I send it. You'll hear when I send it to you.
I just bought this,
Yeah,
and I'm getting ready to just go ham tomorrow on this. And,
hey,
experimenting and stuff.
That's right. And and honestly, it doesn't take a lot. And I think a lot of people think it takes a lot of tools to create music, but it does not. You can have a small little MIDI keyboard, you can have your Logic Pro, and you can have a piano, and you can kill it. And that's all you really need.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. I mean, I just got it because, like, if I'm traveling and I have ideas, because I'm always going to have these ideas and I have nothing to, drop it on. So
to lay things down on. So once again, Desarae, wow, it has been awesome. Stick around for just a moment after we end, and then you and I can chit chat real quick, and then, So hold on one second. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you very much for tuning in. It was a pleasure to have Desarae Dee on the show today. Such an amazing, talented, gifted music creator, perfect pitch, right? Perfect. Man, if y'all don't know what perfect pitch is, go look that up because that's awesome. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. You can always catch us every Monday and every Thursday at 7 p.m. You can catch our interview series. And if you have not seen any of our master classes, head over to our website, wecreatemusic.tv. You can check out the master classes that we have. We have several others coming, which are 7 Habits of Highly Effective Music Creators. We have that coming as well. And we have a networking in the music industry one that we're working on also, right? So how to really meet people and kind of talk to them so you can build those effective, long-lasting relationships. But once again, thanks for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out. Peace.